Hi BL enthusiasts, this is spoiler part 5 for episode 8 of Don't Be Too Emotional. After their first kiss, Jane will spend the next few days away from the mansion after catching the flu from his mother, but the distance will unexpectedly bring him and Big Jane closer. Even though Jane will insist that he can return to work, Big Jane will refuse to let him come back while he is still sick. As his employer, Big Jane will say that Jane needs to rest, but his voice will reveal something more personal. He will ask whether Jane has taken his medicine, whether his fever has gone down, and whether he is eating properly. Jane will notice that this is not the CEO talking to his personal secretary. This is the same Big Jane who once worried about every small injury Jane had. Jane will become emotional because Big Jane will promise to call every night until he recovers. That simple promise will mean more than any expensive gift. For 5 years, Jane lived without hearing Big Jane's voice, so even a short phone call will feel precious. Jane will also look at the dried lilacs hanging on his bedroom wall and finally smile instead of feeling pain. The flowers that once reminded him of loss will begin to represent hope again. Big Jane may still refuse to define their relationship, but his actions will show that he is allowing Jane back into his heart. After several days, Jane's fever will improve, but Big Jane will suddenly appear at his family home before Jane can return to the mansion. Dressed completely in black because he is still mourning his mother, Big Jane will look intimidating inside the family pharmacy with a basket decorated with purple lilacs. He will calmly introduce himself by saying that Big Jane has come to visit little Jane. That line will make Jane's heart race because Big Jane has not openly used their old nicknames in years. Jane's parents will immediately welcome him with enormous respect. They will never forget that Big Jane once helped their family when they were struggling, so his return will feel important. Jane, however, will barely hear anything because he will focus entirely on Big Jane's face. Big Jane promised over the phone that he would come back, and now he will prove that his promise was real. For Jane, this visit will calm one of his deepest fears, waking up one day and discovering that Big Jane has disappeared again. When Jane coughs, Big Jane will instantly ask how he is feeling. Jane's mother will suggest that the two go upstairs because she needs to prepare dinner. Alone inside Jane's bedroom, Big Jane will immediately notice how weak Jane still looks. Jane will try to clean the room because he feels embarrassed, but dizziness will force him to sit on the bed. Big Jane will move beside him without hesitation and place a hand against his forehead. The simple touch will become emotional because it will remind both men of the years when caring for each other was completely natural. Big Jane will notice the dried lilacs on the wall. He will not ask why Jane kept them, but the silence will be enough. Jane will realize that Big Jane has seen proof that he never truly erased their relationship. Instead of explaining, Jane will let the flowers speak for him. Big Jane's expression may remain controlled, but his eyes will soften as he studies them. The closeness will quickly become difficult for both men to ignore. Big Jane will offer to help Jane cool down with a damp towel because he is still warm from the fever. Jane will initially protest because Big Jane is technically a guest, but Big Jane will remind him that he has taken care of Jane before. The scene will carry strong romantic tension without either man needing to confess anything directly. Jane will notice how carefully Big Jane avoids hurting him, while Big Jane will struggle not to stare too long. For Jane, this moment will prove that the attraction between them survived the 5-year separation. Big Jane's presence will affect him in exactly the same way as before, perhaps more strongly because both of them are older and more aware of what they lost. Jane will want to ask again whether Big Jane still considers himself Big Jane to little Jane, but he will stop because he promised not to force an answer. Just as the atmosphere becomes almost too intimate, Jane's mother will call them downstairs for dinner. The interruption will force both of them to separate and regain their composure. Big Jane will straighten his clothes while Jane tries to calm his racing heart. Part 5 will show their relationship moving beyond apologies and into genuine closeness again. Big Jane will no longer protect Jane only from a distance. He will enter Jane's family home, care for him while he is sick, and quietly step back into the role he once abandoned. Jane will begin to believe that his second chance is real, but one challenge will remain. whether Big Jane can trust him enough to stop holding back.